Aston Villa have gone second in the league, lads.
Oh, mental.
It's mental, isn't it? Yeah. Do you remember that season when they finished bottom of the league with like 15 points? One of the worst Premier League teams of all time. It's fucking 7 years later and they're second at Christmas. It's mental. That's weird. That's weird behaviour.
Like, they were struggling, a year ago with Steven Gerrard?
Yeah, man.
Do you know what it is? Every single week, Emery's making Gerrard look even worse than he already knew he was.
Yeah, stay in Saudi Arabia, bro.
Yeah, for sure.
Tell you who else it don't look good for? Grealish. He swapped to go and win league titles. He won one, he done the treble, but now he's about to slip underneath his old team. So.
He won the treble 6 months ago. I don't think he's regretting too much. Nah, he'll sleep easy enough. Like,
I mean, can they keep going like this? Like, it's amazing, lads. Like, I can't believe it.
No, they won't be finishing top 2. No chance. No.
They're not finishing top 2, but top 4 now. Top 4, that's a conversation now. I mean,
it would be a bottle job, wouldn't it, if they don't make top 4 now?
That's hard. I don't know if it's a bottle job, but
who's their competition?
Well, loads. There's fucking Newcastle, Spurs, Arsenal, even Chelsea might have the fucking...
I'm not having Arsenal brought into that conversation.
What do you mean
the top 4? We're title challenges. We're title challenges.
Do you know what it is? I think they're all sort of in the same-ish bracket. If Villa are second, you can't say anyone's that far out in first. You know what I'm saying? Like,
to be fair, it weren't long ago we were saying that it would be a bottle job if Spurs didn't finish in the top 4. And now, how the land lies at the minute, we're looking at that going, okay, it might happen, it might not. So I don't think they'll be bottling it because there's going to be context behind it. If they go deep, which, let's be honest, every single one of us sat around this table surely thinks they're winning that Europa Conference League. The bookies definitely think they are. So if they go deep in that as well...
I just don't think we should underestimate Aston Villa, because it's like, when you watch them as a team, they're actually a good team.
Yeah,
they're very organised. They've got good players. And even Arsenal, if you look at it last season, no one expected Arsenal to go from 5th the season before to challenging for the title. So we shouldn't now just write off Villa from potentially being in that conversation.
Villa have actually got depth as well. That's the thing. Like, that's the thing with Villa. Like, when we look at, so we were a lot of people are now making the comparison to Leicester, yeah, and Villa are actually better off points wise than Leicester were in that season when they won the league at this moment in time. But when you look at the depth for Leicester, and a couple of players that were outperforming coming on, Villa's bench the other day, I looked at it, they had Diaby, the new boy, on there, Tielemans on there. They had they had probably like 5 names that will probably make it into Chelsea's side on their bench. You know what I mean?
Do you know what, mate? I've literally just looked at the Man United team that's playing today, and I don't want to get into Man United slander too early. I don't think there's many Man United players that are playing against Liverpool today that would get into the Aston Villa team that just won on that game. Seriously.
You think so?
How mad would it be if, of everyone to deny Arsenal their Premier League title, Unai Emery could come back and hold, I'm just suggesting it's possible.
That's a question for the table. Like, should they, I know they've done well with Arteta, but should they possibly have kept Emery? Like, he's an actual elite manager.
Nah. Arteta's done well, man. You got to give Arteta. They moved on.
Well, but could Emery not have done as well or even better?
Grass is greener for them.
Could Arteta do that with Villa? That's the real question. We can imagine.
Do you know what? I think I don't want to sound patronising. Villa is the right level for Unai Emery.
No, you can't say that.
He's a Europa League manager. He's the king of the Europa League. He's the most Europa League man in Europe. He's won it more times than what you're hiring.
But are you going to say Arteta is a better manager than Unai Emery?
Yes.
After everything Unai Emery's won?
Yeah.
But
what's Unai Emery won?
Europa Leagues, just like you said.
Yeah.
How could...
And Arteta's won an FA Cup. What's harder to win?
I'd say an FA Cup's a bigger trophy than Europa League.
What?
Would you not? Would you not say the FA Cup's a bigger trophy than Europa League?
No way. No way.
You could make an argument that the standard of teams in the FA Cup in terms of the best team in the FA Cup
way higher
is higher than the Europa League, because they literally, Man City would not be in the Europa League.
You have to beat champions to win the FA Cup.
It only gets harder in the FA Cup when you literally get to the quarters or semis.
Which Arsenal did.
Okay. I think in Europa League, round of 16 onwards, it's difficult. It's not.
I'm not saying it's not difficult. Don't get me wrong. Arteta's failed to win the Europa League on 2 occasions. I think the FA Cup's a bigger and better trophy than the Europa League.
Nah, it's not, man. Because I think the Europa League's harder to win. And the fact that it's more harder to win makes it a bit more. There's that aura around it because it's harder to win.
It's not even just the FA Cup that makes me think that Arteta is a better manager than Emery. I mean, first of all, it's the football that both teams, both managers play. It's also the fact that I don't think we've seen Emery really mount a title challenge with any team. He went to PSG, obviously didn't do very well. At any other teams, he mounted a title challenge. Well, bear in mind, last season, Arsenal came off a season where they finished 5th the season before and then unexpectedly mounted a title challenge against Manchester City. And they're doing it again this year.
Emery wasn't going to challenge with Sevilla or Villarreal for the La Liga title. No chance. That's a big slaughter.
That's where Arsenal were a year ago.
But Arsenal as a club is expected to be in those conversations. You've been poor for the last 10, 15 years.
Kind of my point.
It's not just he's won the Europa League once. He's won it, 4 times? And he got to the final with Arsenal. Like, he's been in the final 5 times in the Europa League. That in itself.
And I swear you went on an unbeaten, 24-game unbeaten run under United.
If I was to make the argument for
finish 5th.
If we were going to try and say this was a mistake, you could, and look, without context, you could just say, how long has Arteta been building this Arsenal team? How much money has he spent on it? And how compared to Emery, who took over Villa not long ago, and yet this season, he's partly derailed them by beating them in that game, but also he's 1 point behind them in the league. Like, it is staggering what he's achieving with a team that was struggling a year ago.
They went head to head. He'd done a number on Arteta. Literally a week ago in a head-to-head.
Done a number. I don't know if he'd done a number. We had a lot of chances in that game, man. That was a tight game. Look, I don't want to take his flowers away, Emery. He's a good manager. And
you already did when you said he's an Aston Villa standard manager. They are lucky to have him. Trust me, Aston Villa appoint Dean Smith. They appoint Steven Gerrard. They appoint...
all right. Ultimate test.
Steve Bruce is for 5 years
ago. We're not allowed to say his name at this table.
Ultimate test. Would you sack Ange for Emery?
No. Have you seen the football we're playing?
And you're behind.
No way.
And you're behind him in the league.
I don't
care. Would you sack your manager? Would you sack Eddie Howe for Emery?
No.
So there you go.
But I wouldn't sack Ange for Arteta.
Don't come on to asking me.
No, ask him. Would you?
Everyone loves
I'd
Emery.
sack my manager for 10. I'm going to be in that Jacob now. I like Poch.
But I will say with Emery, Newcastle did try to get Emery before we got Eddie Howe.
Yeah.
He was on number 1.
He rejected us.
Yeah.
Look, let's say the favourites for top 4 would have been Arsenal, Liverpool, City. So and let's suggest that there isn't a 5th place Champions League spot because of how the failures of Man United and Newcastle. The remaining teams would be Villa, Spurs, Newcastle, maybe West Ham, Man United. Out of those 5, Villa are the favourites, right?
Right now, yeah.
You can write off West Ham, Man United straight away. Neither of them are going to be there.
Which leaves...
I mean, the only chance is possibly if something happens during a takeover with Man United, or if Ten Hag gets sacked, someone else comes in and turns it around. But those two aren't going to be there. West Ham, if you're going on their form, they're going to go deep in Europe again. So realistically, you're looking at that spot and you're going, it's really at Spurs, Villa, and Newcastle.
Take West Ham. See West Ham. The fact that they've even been mentioned at this table to me is hilarious.
That's rattled you.
It's hilarious.
I mean, they're 7th on 27 points, so they are having a good
season. One, Paqueta gets injured, they're done. Finished. Bowen gets injured. Finished. What are they going to do? They ain't got no depth. And like you said, they're going deeper into a competition. Everyone's getting injuries because, like we spoke about, this added injury time at the end of matches,
ridiculous
end of halves. West Ham have no depth. No. They ain't going to be top 4.
Didn't they get better 5-0 by Fulham last week?
Yeah.
Brian, take them out of that list.
Okay, so we're saying Spurs, Newcastle, and Villa for the final Champions League spot. You would have thought
Newcastle are favourites. I think they're favourites. I think when you look at the pedigree of that team, I think you look at the fact they got into the Champions League last season already. I think they probably, I'd love to see what the bookies make of it. I suspect Newcastle probably are still favourites.
We're bottom of the league in that sense. Out of the 3 of them, we're actually furthest behind.
You also done well in a weird way, to go out of the Champions League group.
Thanks very much.
Yeah. It's what everyone else is saying. You lot at the minute, fucking fifth spot up. But you've gone out of the Champions League group bottom, which is obviously going to serve you a little bit better with your injuries and stuff like that as it goes forward, rather than then going into the Europa League. So I would say Newcastle with what they've done, but then it's nip and tuck between them two. And then the irony is...
We're 9 points behind Villa, by the way. 9 points we've got to make up.
They just beat City, Arsenal, and then turn it around away against Brentford, Villa. You've got to give them some respect.
And Spurs are 6 points. Spurs are 5 points behind them. My bad.
Right.
So
I would say Spurs. I would back my boys. But we're losing Son. Basuma's suspended now, and we won't see him till February. And we're losing Sarr as well. These players are just too key for us in January.
So if Villa don't get it, they are bottling it.
I'd think so.
Yeah.
If we weren't losing those players, I would say we're getting top 4 with no Europe. I'd say we're getting top 4.
Why would you write us out of it? Why would you?
I'm not writing us out of it. I'm just saying 9 points.
Why would you make them ahead?
9 points is massive.
Yeah, that is a big.
It's a big amount of points.
You need them to lose 3 games.
When I'm looking at Villa in the consistency,
And you can't lose any more.
The way they performed against Arsenal, mentally such a strong team. I'm like, you guys don't look like you're going to throw away a 9-point lead.
Yeah, but even today, 1-0 down with 15, 20 minutes of the game to go, and then coming back and winning today. Like, they're doing the things, they're passing those tests that for a team to finish in those Champions League spots, you need to be passing these tests, and that's what Villa are doing at the minute.
For sure, but I would agree on Joey with Newcastle. We don't have any European football anymore. I mean, our players are coming back. Yeah, thanks, Mitch. Our players are coming back from injury. Like, I think we're going to have a strong second half of the season. Like, don't get me wrong. I was devastated to finish bottom of that Champions League group, which, by the way, is the most unjustified 4th place finish for any team in the Champions League of all time. We should have got second. We got fucked in PSG. But, like, I think, we did.
I feel you, mate. Yeah, I'm absolutely.
I'm still devastated.
Crying inside.
Joe, I was probably up there with the relegation, like, in terms of how fucking devastating it was. Like, coming out of that ground was fucking miserable. Still kind of am. But no, as I was saying, I think we're going to get our players back. Harvey Barnes coming back. We won't have to play children in the middle of the pitch anymore. I think we're going to have a strong second half season.
I agree. I think we are going to come back. I just don't know if they're going to drop 9 points. I think we're asking.
They will, man. They'll lose 3 games for sure. They'll lose more than that.
As someone who's lived through it, that is what Emery teams do. Strong start, fall apart. As you said, what was it like 20 games we were unbeaten? Arsenal start of his first season. We finished 5th that season.
Yeah, but here's the problem. But here's the problem. They might drop those points. 9 points, like you said, the gap. They might drop those points, but that means you can't drop no more points. That's what it means.
It doesn't mean that.
It does.
They'll lose more than 3 games. That's my point. They'll lose more. How many have City
the one thing we do have over them is we've got to play them again, and we did batter them at the start of the season. So, maybe we're a bad team stylistically for them to play. I just worry. I mean, we've got to win that game.
I just think on paper, when we were fully strength squad, we're better than Aston Villa. We proved that 5-1. Like, the only reason we've dropped so many points is because we've had to play Lewis Miley, God bless him, he's a little kid doing great, but like the likes of him in the team, he should be nowhere near our starting 11.
I don't know, man. Mate,
No, listen, don't get me wrong. He's been class. He's been really, really good, but we should have had Tonali in there.
Yeah, but I'm just looking at how well coached they are this season. Like, they've gone to another level this season.
So true.
When I watched them against City, I've never seen a team humble Man City the way they did in that game. Arsenal, they frustrated Arsenal. You lot created chances, but you just never really felt like the goal was coming for some reason. Aston Villa did look quite in control.
Defensively, they're so clever.
And their record at Villa Park, I mean, it's outstanding. It's outstanding. No one in the league has a record at home like them this season.
Apart from Newcastle, who have got 7 wins in a row at St. James's.
There you go.
Actually, you do have a good record at home.
It may come down to us two. If Spurs do suffer with it.
Do you not think we're a better team than Villa when we have our foot? Surely.
I feel like there's a conspiracy going on at Newcastle right now because of the fact that in the first half yesterday, we had 2 players go off injured, Shaw and Joe Linton. I'm literally tweeting like there's a fucking conspiracy here. Like, what's going on with the back room? What's going on with the medical staff? Are we training them too hard? We might have hit a record for number of injuries sustained by this point in the season. Like, it must be. Yeah. And I think part of it's down to the playing style, but the Champions League football, added time, all of that. How come we're suffering so much worse than everyone else? Something's wrong. Yeah, in my opinion.
We got to go out and spend in January for sure. Get at least 3 or 4 through the door.
I don't know if you can, though, can you? You're up against it. No, financial fair play. Yeah, I don't think you can spend.
We haven't made enough money as a club yet because we haven't signed the Adidas deal for next season and all of that.
So you think we can't spend any money in January?
I think it's loan. So remember the Lewis Hall situation? Yeah. So we took Lewis Hall from Chelsea, 20 odd million, 30 million to be paid later. But Eddie Howe clearly, for me, has had a change of mind on him and thought, you're a good player, but you're not worth that money. Yeah. So they've stopped playing him so that we don't trigger the signing clause. So I think he's holding money back, and we'll see Newcastle sign someone, maybe Calvin Phillips or someone like that. I'm not really keen on signing a player who's happy sitting on the bench, but we will sign someone with a view to buy him later. But I don't think we've got the ability to spend. This whole thing about Newcastle being so rich is, it doesn't matter.
Bring in Ruben Neves, all right? They voted on that deal, get loan players in, bring him in from Saudi.
Bring Ronaldo, Kante, Neves, all of them.
I will say this though, if all 3 of those teams have their first 11 fit, you guys have all your teams Villa, I'm backing Spurs all the way, I don't care. We're disrupting top 3 if we have our first 11.
What's this?
If we had our 11, if we have Van der Ven, still Manderson, like how we was at the beginning of the season, we're disrupting top 3.
Richarlison up front, yeah?
He wouldn't be up front, Son was up front.
Oh, he was, yeah.
I think that's how I feel, to be fair. I feel like our injuries have killed.
We were playing better than Liverpool.
Who was the wingers? Kulusevski and who else?
Wait, what?
Who else was on the wing? Brendan Johnson, Kulusevski.
Richarlison was on the left, but they rotated in with Brendan Johnson, Son through the middle. Madison and Van der Ven are the key injuries for us.
The difference is, that, and I'm not disagreeing with what you're saying, like, you were playing amazing football, right? I respect that. But last season we got top 4, and I feel like the edge would have been with us, given that we've been there and done it, if the injuries weren't the fact that they are, and they're terrible. And I can't see them stopping for some reason.
Newcastle have been the most incredible team in the Premier League over the last 18 months, I think. In terms of what we've achieved, I could be here all day. We smashed Spurs 6-1, 5-0 up after 20me minutes, 8-0 at Sheffield United, beat Man United twice already this season.
What away record?
You're talking about last
terrible
season.
This season, though, innit?
Talking about last season.
Yeah.
We could all talk about other
Also, you've lost games as well.
Yeah. Our away record this season has been shit.
That doesn't fit my argument.
Let's be honest. Like, I'm a Newcastle fan. Our away record has been poor this season.
Yeah, very poor.
We really need to fucking sort it out.
Yeah.
All right, let's just quickly go around the table and round up. Prediction for who gets that 4th spot out of Villa, Spurs, Newcastle. Start with you, Joy.
I don't know if I even want to say Villa because the way things are going, I think they might be higher than 4th. But if I've got to pick one of those teams, yeah, I'm going to have to go Villa at the minute.
Here's the thing. If we were still in the Europa League, if we finished 3rd and went to the Europa League, I would say probably Villa or Spurs. But nah, man, I think with no European football, a fresh squad, players coming back, yeah, I'm going to back Newcastle for this one.
I'm going with Spurs. I'm going with my boys. I got to back the Lily Whites. I think we can do it. I believe in Ange Ball.
Jacob?
I'd just about say Newcastle. Do you know, it's interesting you having that conversation about, you're saying if all your players are fit, you finish there. I think you could kind of make that argument for each of those teams.
No, you can.
Do you know what I mean?
You can.
It's
close as fuck.
They're really even, man. There are players from Newcastle that get into each of those teams.
Yeah.
Like Maddison would get into all of those teams. There are Villa players.
Out of those 3 teams, who is world class? What player? Who has a world class player of those 3 teams?
Guimaraes is world class.
No, he's not.
Guimaraes is
world class. World class.
Guimaraes is world class.
To me, the only player out of those 3, all of them, is Son. He's the only one that is hands down world class, in my opinion.
Still, Son of last season was nowhere near world class. He's in his
Yeah, but that
30s.
was last season. He's got 10 goals, 11 goals in the league this season.
He is playing world class this season. That's a fact.
He's just I'm saying, in world football, how many teams do not take Son on the left? Who doesn't take Son? How many players on the left get in before Son?
Well, a minute ago you said he was up front. So which is it? Is he a striker?
They're rotating him. They rotate. He's a forward.
I think he's a striker nowadays. I think where his legs have gone a little bit.
He played left for the last 2 games and we just won them.
Yeah.
No player who...
That's why he's world class. He's going to play up
I've got
front
to put
or
Jacob
left.
under pressure. We've got other things to talk about. Jacob.
Go for it.
Yeah, Newcastle. I'll say Newcastle. I do think. The thing that makes the call for me is the fact you're not in Europe. I think that's what makes the difference.
I hope you're right. I hope he's right. Okay.
What about you? You're gonna just...
I'm going to back Newcastle.
There we go.
But Villa are favourites, as Joyce said.
Yeah, they are
I agree.
favourites.